Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdates 220720.4. We've run out of celebrities to induct into the halls for the time being, so we're going to go back to basics today. The added bonus really is that the newer inmates have already been given the Teabag Bagwell treatment, so they're oddly silent and I can't imagine why. Hello everyone, welcome to the halls of injustice. Today we're going to be revisiting somebody who is no longer in the ISO cubes. My former MP, Charlie Elphicke, the naughty Tory. So we can best go through what it is he did that got him to where he was and then be released. We need to revisit episode 42 of the Halls of Injustice. One of the very first times I made a lengthier video, and the reason why is because he was my MP. He helped me out. It pissed me off that he was, well, a convicted sex offender on 3 separate charges, received a very short sentence, and is now out. Rather interestingly, I didn't know he had been released until I'd spoken to somebody who I know that walks their dog. They were conversing with others as to how feckless he was while he was our MP. I had to point out that actually he wasn't, and then explained my interactions with him. But that does not change. He is a convicted sex offender, and because of that, you cannot take these good moments and weigh them anywhere near against the bad, because he will always be bad. Which is why my sentence then, I believe, would have undoubtedly been life. So since this is essentially life after the ISO cubes, you all need to now know what it is he did and what it was he got sentenced for. So I guess we have to go back in time to 2020, when Charlie Elphicke was first convicted. In 1994, Charlie Elphicke started his political career when he was elected to the Lambeth London Borough Council, representing Gypsy Hill. In 1998, he stood down and became chairman of the Dulwich and West Norwood Conservative Association, and served until he was selected for the Conservative parliamentary candidate for St Albans in 1999. He was not elected for that particular seat, so instead he was made deputy chairman of the Cities of London and Westminster Conservative Association. In 2007, Charlie Elphicke was selected as a Conservative candidate for Dover. This was one of Labour's safest seats in Kent. In 2010, he took it with a 10.4% swing. Since 2010, he was re-elected in 2015 and in 2017. In 2016, Charlie Elphicke campaigned to remain in the European Union, but over the course of his parliamentary career, he voted for referendums on the UK's membership to the EU, on multiple occasions in fact. And when the country and his constituency voted to leave, he campaigned on the side of leave to ensure that we left, with him contributing to Theresa May's government's first defeat over Brexit legislation in December of 2017. We are now going to move on to what he was accused of and how this impacted his career. As he's already in the ISO cubes, we can safely say it ended quite poorly for the naughty Tory Charlie Elphicke. Order! One of the first accusations to arise came from 2007, 3 years before he was elected as MP for Dover, where it was alleged that he had brought her to his home in London, plied her with a £40 bottle of alcohol, and while she thought him to be a bit asexual, he started to talk to her about her sexual preferences, with him continuing to talk about silk, leather, bondage, getting a tad excited about this. It was alleged that afterwards he had pounced on her, trying to kiss her and then groping her breast, with her then running away and him chasing her around the house saying, "I'm a naughty little Tory." The second allegation comes 6 years into his time as an MP, where he and another woman found themselves sharing a bottle of champagne in Westminster, with the victim claiming that he tried to kiss her before groping, with him repeating a similar sentiment to the first one. "Oh, I'm naughty sometimes, aren't I? I can be so badly behaved, but I can't help it." In 2017, these allegations came to light, and he was, because of this, suspended from the Conservatives and had his whip removed. But because of a no-confidence vote in Theresa May, he had his whip restored. In 2018, when the charges went a little bit further courtesy of the Crown Prosecution Services, he was formally charged and suspended again. In 2019, Charlie Elphicke decided it was the right move to stand down, and his wife took over. Charlie Elphicke's political career ended. So now we should move on to the trial itself.
Surprise, motherfucker!
The trial began on July 7, 2020, with both victims using video link to give evidence in court. The first, from 2007, said, "He started talking about what we liked in a sexual way. I sort of wagged my finger at him and said, we don't need to talk about that kind of thing. He was like a totally asexual person to me. He was jovial, jokey, excited maybe in an animated way. I was just thinking, oh god, how embarrassing." And that after a couple of sentences, he basically jumped on her to grope her breast, tried to kiss, and then the cringy "I'm a naughty Tory." The second victim found herself in Charlie Elphicke's company and shared a bottle of champagne in Westminster, saying that he had tried to kiss her before groping her, and that his mouth was opened, continually trying to kiss her. It was like a disgusting, slobbery mess. The woman he assaulted allegedly in 2016 was told by Charlie that he had not been happy in his marriage for years, when he had been questioned about being married, with him also trying to get her to not speak because he didn't want to risk damaging his marriage, with her saying to him this was not okay, with him saying, "Why not?" She replied, "You're married," to which he said he hadn't been for years. Defending Charlie Elphicke, Ian Winter QC read sections of text messages between the client and the woman in the lead up to the first alleged incident, describing them as frisky and flirty, with him also accusing her of errors in her recollections to the police. This is to me all quite important. This could be argued to be victim blaming. When taking the stand, Charlie Elphicke was asked to explain what had happened, and he said, "The atmosphere was very warm and convivial, and I believed she wanted to take matters further. I leaned over and kissed her. At first, she responded positively. Then it became clear it was not what she wanted." He then continued saying, "I was incredibly apologetic. I believed this was what she wanted. She said she accepted my explanation, my apology, and that I had been under misapprehension." So Charlie Elphicke, via a unanimous vote of the jury, was found guilty of all three charges of sexual assault. Charlie Elphicke, former MP for Deal and Dover, was sentenced to 2 years in jail. Based on sentencing guidelines, it's a little bit longer than what it would have been, something which his ex-wife was quick to point out. Okay, so hopefully that provides suitable context about Charlie Elphicke. I have removed about 20 minutes worth of video. If you do want to watch the whole video, it is linked down below. So Charlie Elphicke was released on the 16th of September 2021 after serving half of his sentence in an open prison. Now, an open prison, for those who don't know, is one that generally doesn't have much in the way of security. Not many patrols, you kind of get free rein for the most part. This was confirmed by the Ministry of Justice, who had confirmed he was serving his time at Ley Hill Open Prison. Shortly after his release, there were a number of articles that circulated talking about MPs who have been accused of sexual misconduct. 56 MPs are reportedly facing sexual misconduct allegations, so there is clearly a problem in Parliament. Some of the more notable names include Imran Ahmad Khan, who got 18 months in prison for what he did; Neil Parish, who resigned in April this year after admitting he watched porn twice in Parliament, which, while inappropriate as Fook, made me laugh to no end. There are a number of unnamed MPs because, as is right when accused, you should have the right to anonymity unless you are found guilty, in which case tarred and feathered. You have David Warburton, who had the party whip removed amid a series of allegations over sexual harassment and his love of the sherbet. So what has Charlie Elphicke been up to since his release? Well, part of the condition for his release was that he had to pay £35,000 in fees within the space of 12 months. That was covering the costs of the prosecution. Charlie Elphicke had been summoned to Uxbridge Magistrates Court for non-payment, with him being quoted as saying, "I find myself in a very difficult and embarrassed position," asking the court to give him time to the end of his sentence to get himself back on his feet. The court had heard that most of the £51,000 Elfic received from the sale of his marital home had been used in legal fees and to pay 6 months' rent up front for a one-bedroom apartment in Fulham, which is southwest London. He had also been using Step Change Debt Charity, who I myself have used in the past, to assess his financial situation, but the court was not accepting of any repayment proposal, with him further saying, "I have no job, no career, I am long-term unemployed. I am working with the job centre and my probation officer to find a new career. I have made a claim for universal credit. I am separated from my wife who has filed for divorce. I have had to find a new place to live." The magistrate's court has agreed to adjourn the case to the 17th of December, while Charlie Elphicke at the time was waiting for his benefits claims to be assessed, with a payment order expected to be made at the next hearing. That particular article is from November 2021, so now we should skip ahead to April 2022. Charlie Elphicke presented universal credit and bank statements during appearance at Uxbridge Magistrates Court on Friday to prove he still cannot pay the £35,000 in court costs that he owes. Now, he had originally been given until September this year, after asking more time to get back on his feet in last September. Magistrates had asked him if he had considered stacking supermarket shelves, with the former Conservative MP saying that he was willing to give active consideration to exactly that, and actively looking at building site work. "I can promise you, based on cost of living, if you're in London by the way, you're going to struggle to get a shelf stacking job that pays for you to get by and can pay £35,000 in prosecution costs. They've stiffed you, Charlie, and you know it. There is no job Charlie Elphicke can get where he could make enough money to get by and pay £35,000 in prosecution costs within a year. The courts know this. He has no income beyond state welfare. If he wanted to make things easier on himself, he would choose to live somewhere where it is a bit more affordable, but he has chosen Fulham as his residence, which is a big mistake on his part. He is not likely to get a job for a law firm where his degree in the past and his previous employment could help him. His career has mostly been political, so he's not going to really get anywhere anytime soon. But you know what? You do you, boo. It's going to be funny watching you get sent back to prison, which is more than likely if you don't pay the money. I bet you wished Wonga still existed.